Chapter 6 Fall. Applejack awoke beside the couch in the middle of the library, her bangs in her face and her hat covering her eyes. The orange mare groaned when she removed her Stetson to receive the full light from the rising sun. She clamped her eyes shut and climbed back onto the couch, laying back on her stomach. She hadn't fallen asleep until 3 o'clock in the morning, and she was exhausted from the relentless crying and worry. Twilight had finally read the letter from Princess Celestia, only to find that she was requesting Spike's assistance in Canterlot immediately. She, Applejack, and Rarity were relieved to hear this, not being able to cope with some sort of emergency. "Oh, good, you're awake," said a voice. The farm pony lifted her head slowly, her hat falling to the floor. Rarity walked into the room, her mane tied up in a towel, and her coat damp with bathwater. She recoiled when she saw Applejack's face. "Oh, darling, you look terrible! Come on, get up. I don't care what you say. You are coming with me to the spa. You have had a terrible night, and you need help to relax." "Is Rainbow Dash okay?" asked Applejack, not wanting to argue right now with Rarity. Rarity paused. "Oh, yes, dear. Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy came back this morning after you fell asleep," she explained. "They said they saw Spitfire from the Wonderbolts fly by and land on Rainbow's cloud." That woke Applejack up immediately. She shot up to her haunches, her jaw agape. "What? What would she want with Dash?" she asked. "I don't know," answered Rarity simply. "Fluttershy said they were too high up for either of them to hear the conversation. But they did say that Spitfire flew off with Rainbow Dash on her back. They said she didn't look good from their point of view." "Huh? What? Is she okay? What happened?" "Pinkie Pie said after a while Spitfire flew back to Rainbow Dash's house in the clouds, and then left," said Rarity. "Once they heard Rainbow Dash's snoring, they came back here before leaving. They were up all night, so they're both at home sleeping. Personally, I don't even know that Pinkie Pie could sleep." Applejack smiled ear to ear, finally relaxing. She could both breathe now, knowing her friend was at least able to sleep. Maybe Spitfire came to welcome Rainbow Dash into the Wonderbolts finally. If anything were to make the Pegasus feel better, it would be that. It didn't matter. The farm pony didn't speculate. Her friend was okay, not about to take her own life. And suddenly, Applejack was overcome with this happiness, feeling her eyes burning with the threat of tears. "Are you all right, dear?" asked Rarity with a look of concern. Applejack nodded as a warm tear rolled down her face. The white unicorn hugged her gently. "She's okay," Applejack whispered. "I'm just so happy she's okay." "We all are, dear," Rarity replied softly, letting her go. She gave the orange mare a sad smile. "Applejack, please don't take this the wrong way, but—" Applejack straightened up, wiping the tears from her eyes. It didn't matter what the unicorn was about to say to her. She was overwhelmingly relieved to hear Rainbow Dash was okay, and even had a chance to be with her idol. "Go ahead, Rarity. I couldn't be mad right now, even if I tried," she smiled. "Thank you, dear. But I wanted to ask you, are you absolutely sure that you don't have any teeniest, tiniest of feelings toward Rainbow Dash?" Applejack went to reply with the obvious answer, but then found herself stopping. Rarity looked as if she were trying her hardest to be patient, which she ignored. The orange mare fiddled with her hat between her forehoofs, trying to contemplate her friend's question. She knew why Rarity had asked the question. She wasn't as dumb as she may have been perceived. It was because of her reaction to Rainbow Dash's sorrow, and then her relief when she found that she was okay. She bet that Twilight nor the rest of her friends had cried like a filly when they found out Spitfire stopped by to take care of Dash. So the question was understandable. It made sense. So does Rainbow Dash, she found herself thinking. What was that? No, I don't like mares. If she were a stallion, then maybe. I could see feeling for her, but... Applejack exhaled. But if y'all could see that working out, then who are y'all to say that would be wrong? 'Cause she isn't a stallion. So, what does that matter? Feelings are feelings. There's feelings, and then there's lying to myself. Y'all mean like y'all doing right now? Applejack visibly flinched. Her mind was working against her, shoving emotions into her face that weren't real. But if they came from her mind, then of course they were real. But why would she feel this all of a sudden? Why would she like Rainbow Dash in a romantic way? She had never thought of another mare that way before. Maybe it was just Rainbow. She was Applejack's best friend for a reason. Because Dash was just like her. She was thick-headed, brash, competitive, easily confused at times. The list went on. But that was why they were best friends, not mare friends. If Rainbow Dash's personality and brain could be put into the body of a stallion, then she could see a relationship manifesting. But once this thought went through her mind, Applejack gave herself a mental slap. That mentality was so shallow. What did Rainbow Dash's gender have to do with anything? Ponies loved one another because of who they were. So at this point, Applejack's problem was just the fact that Dash was a mare. She allowed her mind to drift to the memories she shared with the Scion Pegasus. Rainbow Dash was just something else. Her constant athletics had granted her a lean body, but not abandoned her simple look or beauty. Her eyes were such a deep rose. Somehow not contrasting against her amazing rainbow mane. In fact, they complemented it. As her thoughts roamed free, Applejack found her cheeks growing increasingly hot. She came to her senses, and she found Rarity had been sitting on the floor, her forehooves underneath her chest. Apparently she had been waiting for an answer for a few minutes now. The white unicorn saw the blush upon Applejack's face and immediately knew what she was thinking. Rarity jumped to her hooves, beaming and bouncing. "Oh, I knew it!" she squeaked, reminiscent of Pinkie Pie. "Something's there!" "Nothing's..." Applejack went to defend, but then stopped. "I mean, if she was... Oh, confound it! I don't know, okay? I don't know what my brain is thinking. It's early in the morning." "And that's when the brain is most honest," Rarity sing-songed, bouncing on her hooves in excitement. "Why do you want this to happen so much?" "Well, my dear Applejack, regardless of the gender of two ponies in question, I am positively elated to have heard that new love is blossoming between two of my best friends." "It's not love." "Not yet," Rarity sing-songed again. Applejack couldn't argue. She couldn't lie to herself. She was just confused. That was all. She didn't know what she was feeling. The farm pony may have been stubborn at times, but she wasn't stupid. She decided that she would give her thoughts some time, especially after a cup or two of coffee. "Did y'all make any, Joe?" asked Applejack, desperately changing the conversation. Rarity quelled her excitement. "Oh, yes, dear. After last night I figured you would need it. There's a pot in the kitchen." "Thanks. Oh, and Rarity?" Applejack stood up on the floor and placing both forehooves on her friend's shoulders. "You'll have to promise to keep the past 10 minutes to yourself." "Oh, of course, dear." "Pinky promise?" Rarity stiffened. "What? Oh, no, you're not going to make me do the whole thing, are you?" Applejack nodded. Rarity groaned and performed the routine before Applejack. Satisfied, walking into the kitchen to try to wake up and deal with some of these insane thoughts. Rarity came with her, lending a helping hoof by floating the pot of coffee over her mug and pouring it. Applejack thanked her, but not bothering with milk and sugar, but simply tipping back and enjoying the caffeine. So, you know that you owe me for keeping this enormous bit of information a secret, right? The unicorn asked. The spa? Asked Applejack, a sense of horror in her voice. The spa, Rarity agreed. The orange mare groaned and slumped back into her chair. This wasn't going to be such a great day after all. Gilda stood proudly upon the high stone mesa, grinning at the cheering crowd. At least 50 griffins roared their agreement with Swiftwing's speech. The plan went flawlessly. Swift was an absolute wordsmith. He captivated the crowd, with no words of disagreement towards their proposal. Gilda and Swift had told them of a land not filled with hatred or fear or discrimination towards griffin kind. A land that didn't punish them or hate them without more reason than their race. A land where they could truly roam free. Not the lie the pony kind had thrown at them. There was some speculation from a few griffins in the crowd, which Gilda had taken care of by reassuring them that if suitable negotiations regarding demands of law amendments don't work, then we use force. We take over any town that has the gall to disagree with us. Our demands are justified, no more, no less. It had worked, a lot easier than she had thought. This was good, and had lowered chances of defecting or quitting halfway through. Each town and city in Equestria had made one sort of injustice towards their kind or another, sometimes in history. With Gilda, it was Ponyville. With Swiftwing, it was Canterlot. Princess Celestia herself had signed the papers for Swiftwing's banishment, not just from the capital, but also from the mountain range it stood on. All for a crime that would convict a pony to simple community service. A pony would get a week of street cleanup. A griffin, however, received shame from his or her kind and a criminal record, not to mention banishment in the first place. This is really working, said Swiftwing, after the crowd had dispersed, flying off to their respective homes and waiting for the next order. Of course it is. Our cause is just, and it's a long time coming. If I didn't start this regime, some other griffin would, explained Gilda, a smug look on her face. What will you do when you reach Ponyville? Asked Swiftwing curiously. It will be no different than any other town. Just because it holds the ponies responsible for my banishment doesn't mean it will get any special treatment. You're a really good leader. Nice and responsible. Gilda nodded at the compliment, turning to the rising sun. It had only been a week since she had first met Swiftwing, and justice was already on the rise. 1 week later. Boxes lined the living room wall, all marked with various categories such as kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. They were all filled past capacity, especially the boxes marked trophies. This made their owner's pride quiver, although not comparable to what it would have done 2 weeks ago. Her home was bare, a sight she hadn't seen in over 4 years. It had been something she had forced herself not to look upon, for the pain it brought her hurt even more. The sight reminded the mare of what she was doing, leaving everything behind. Everything that made her, her. All her experiences, all her friends, all her aches and all of her issues. Where there were problems, there were remedies, solved by the next step she was taking in her life. It was painful, but also gratifying. This move was for the best. The mare took a whole week to convince herself. But in the end, the idea was the only thing that would take her away from here. The front door opened, and 3 Pegasi walked into the living room. 2 were moving stallions, gruff and strong-looking. The mare Pegasus, however, wasn't there to do anything but the opposite. The gray Pegasus gave her a sad expression unseen upon her face. The gray mare gave her a sad expression unseen before upon her face, her blonde mane hanging lazily over her crossed eyes. She looked up to the resident of the home. Are you sure you want to do this? Ponies are gonna miss you and stuff, said Derpy Hooves, her voice strained. The mare looked up to her, with a face reflecting Derpy's sorrowful expression. I have to, said Rainbow Dash. It's the only way. Applejack bucked down the first apples of the day. Normally, all the tree's fruit would fall in one quick buck, but now only a few fell, as if to taunt her. She looked up to the tree to find it still full, bearing nearly all of its apples. The orange mare sighed, knowing what was wrong. It wasn't that it was the first tree after waking up merely 20 minutes ago. It was her brain, and what was occupying every thought. She had done everything she could to distract her mind, from bucking apples on the farm as fast as she could, to a spa treatment that Rarity had forced upon her a week ago. Applejack had of course dreaded the idea, but found the treatment to be incredibly invigorating and even relaxing. It was something her hard-working body truly needed, even if she denied it to her friend. Ever since the White Unicorn had asked her about her feelings for Rainbow Dash, Applejack found out that she didn't know herself, at least as well as she had thought, and it was a humbling experience, but it also frightened her. She had been brought up with the idea that mares were meant to be with stallions, and nothing else. In the modern world, the thought was considered old-fashioned, or even small-minded. Applejack may not have been a scholar, but she wasn't small-minded, and opening her mind scared her. All these new thoughts were overwhelming. What did she do with these feelings? Something wrong, AJ? Asked Big Macintosh, walking over to his sister. Applejack gritted her teeth, frustrated. For the last time, there's nothing wrong, she bellowed, more at the tree than her brother. That wasn't it. That's the first time I've spoken to y'all all day, replied Big Mac calmly, despite his sister's outburst. Applejack exhaled, frustrated by her sudden anger. It was there only to yell at her brother, but gone immediately afterward. I'm sorry, Big Macintosh. It's all right. Y'all got a lot on your mind, said her brother. Applejack had told him everything the previous night, the past 2 weeks and her confusion. It's a messin' with your work. Y'all been off all week. I'm trying, Big Mac, said Applejack, delivering a half-hearted buck to the meddlesome tree, although to no avail. I'm not here to berate you, sis. I'm trying to give y'all a day off, said the red stallion. Applejack froze. Day off? The orange mare had never taken a day off. Applejack could remember a day when she had come down with a severe flu at the end of the season, but the strong-willed mare kept going until she passed out in the middle of the cold orchard. What? Day off? That's the dumbest comp-picking ideas. Granny's orders. Applejack stiffened. Why would Granny Smith order her to take the day off? The orchard's trees were completely full. They were short-handed as it is. Only her, Big Mac, and Caramel were around to buck these trees today. The apples needed all the help they could get. The farm pony sat on her haunches in contemplation. Don't overthink it, AJ.
Granny needs y'all in tip-top shape for her season. And if that means y'all to take a day off, then I think for the best," said Big Mac, clearly quoting Granny Smith's words.
I just don't like the idea of leaving y'all to work here by yourselves.
"Granny's orders,"
he repeated, giving her a small smile. Applejack returned the smile. Getting back to her hooves, she thanked her brother and walked towards the edge of the farm, trying to think of where she would go to clear her mind. She couldn't be around her friends now. She needed solitude. She needed to be somewhere alone. Applejack wandered around Ponyville absent-mindedly, her head low in thought. The town square was packed, which was actually a good thing. This way the orange mare could blend into the crowd of shoppers, unseen as if she weren't there. She subconsciously weaved through many ponies, her destination non-existent. After an unknown amount of time, Applejack found herself outside of the town, ascending a hill that granted an amazing view of the mountains to the north. She sat on her haunches atop the knoll, able to view the city of Canterlot, standing valiantly on the edge of the range. Overhead, 2 Pegasus stallions flew off towards the mountains, boxes between their hooves. She didn't think much of it. The only thing on her mind right now was Rainbow Dash, and the thought had been occupying her mind for 2 weeks now. Before, she had been completely confused about her feelings. But now she knew what she thought. Applejack knew what her feelings meant. And now it was time to accept them. The orange mare did feel something for her friend, even if she was a mare. Somehow this didn't matter to her anymore. So what if Rainbow Dash wasn't a stallion? Applejack still felt her heart long to hold her, to comfort her, to take away all the pain that the poor mare had endured. Suddenly the physical barrier wasn't a factor. Nothing was, except her emotions. Applejack stood up faster than she thought. She didn't know that she would accept herself so quickly, but that didn't matter. She needed to find Rainbow Dash and do something. Yeah, something. She turned back towards Ponyville to find Verity galloping towards her, horror spread across her face. "Applejack, there you are!" she gasped, stopping to catch her breath. You have to come to Twilight's library right now, dear. It's an emergency." Applejack and Rarity burst through the library door. The farm pony had wasted no time in asking questions. She had merely nodded and followed her friend, hoping nothing had happened to Rainbow Dash. Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Twilight were already there, pacing back and forth impatiently. The orange mare felt her heart sink when she saw Rainbow was nowhere to be found. They all looked up to the 2 ponies entering. "Applejack, thanks Celestia, Rarity found you," Twilight gasped. The purple unicorn looked terrible. Her mane had frayed in all directions, lines of worry under her eyes. "Okay, every pony, we can start now." "Twilight, what's going on?" asked Rarity. "What's the emergency?"
"Yeah, you're starting to scare poor widow Fluttershy," exclaimed Pinkie Pie, gesturing to the quivering Pegasus.
"Wait, where's Rainbow?" asked Applejack. "This isn't about her, is it?" "No, but no pony can find her," said Twilight, her voice shaking. "We'll find her eventually. Right now we have a crisis on our hooves. Princess Celestia just sent me an urgent letter." The purple unicorn levitated a scroll to her face, unraveling and reading it aloud. "Dear Twilight Sparkle, I write this letter to you under extreme circumstances. The town of Appaloosa has been taken over by a regime of griffins after a meeting with their mayor. Several ponies have been taken hostage within the small town, demanding changes in equestrian law. Their leader has been found saying that they are fighting for some sort of cause. Not many details have surfaced as of yet, but Appaloosa may not be their only target. My guess is they wish to repeat the process with every town until they reach whatever goal they have their eyes set on.
Take heed, my faithful student. Griffins are a race not to be taken lightly. They are powerful, ruthless, and cunning. I have sent a letter to the mayor with the same details. This is a matter not to be taken to the public, but it is my wish for you to prepare, gather your friends, and organize a meeting with the mayor. Each of the elements of harmony will play a specific role in this battle, if it comes to such a dire situation. I will keep you posted with any information that I receive in the meantime. My best regards, Princess Celestia. Applejack felt a clamp tighten over her heart. Appaloosa, where her distant family had settled, had been taken hostage. Brayburn, what had happened to him? Had he been taken as well? Worry spread throughout her body and mind, causing her to visibly shake. What was going on? Why were griffins suddenly coming out of the brush and doing something like this? They had some sort of goal, that much had been said. She couldn't help but wonder what that goal was. No one could help them if they came to Ponyville. Every pony in the room was speechless, their mouths agape. Fluttershy looked on the edge of tears. Pinkie Pie held a wide-eyed stare on the purple unicorn. Rarity held a hoof to her mouth, looking towards Applejack. It was as if she had been the only pony to remember the event in Appaloosa. She didn't care, though. For right now, the last thing the orange mare needed was more attention. Applejack didn't know what to do. Her mind was all over the place. Her realization of her feelings for her friend, Appaloosa being in such a terrible situation, it was all too much for 1 hour to hold. "We need to find Rainbow Dash," said Applejack suddenly. Twilight looked up to her. "Has any pony seen her?" "Not since we saw her with Spitfire," whispered Fluttershy, rubbing her eyes. "After that, I don't think I've seen her at all." "Where could she have gone?" asked Twilight, her left eye twitching with worry. "She's one of the elements. We need her to come with us to see the mayor." "I'll look for her," said Applejack. "I need to see her anyhow." Rarity shot her a hopeful look. Applejack nodded to her, answering the silent question. The white unicorn cracked a small smile, barely able to contain her happiness regardless of the situation. "Okay, Applejack, go find Rainbow and do whatever you can to get her here," Twilight instructed, gathering her composure and organized demeanor. "Fluttershy, go with AJ to scout the skies for Rainbow Dash. Pinkie Pie, take the balloon and circle Ponyville. I want you to let us know if you see anything out of the ordinary. Rarity, you're coming with me to the mayor's office. I'm not taking any chances with this news. Every pony got it?" Applejack, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy nodded purposefully, understanding their objectives. Rarity turned to Applejack once more, giving her one more sidelong look. The farm pony nodded again before turning on a hoof and bolting through the door. Fluttershy gasped and followed close behind, running instead of flying. Fluttershy kept trying to ask the orange mare what she had thought of Rainbow's whereabouts, but Applejack ignored the banter. She had one thing on her mind right now: find Rainbow Dash, and do something before getting her to the mayor's office. She didn't know how she could express her feelings for the Pegasus. A hug? No, that didn't mean anything special. A kiss? No. Too forward. But was it? Dash had confessed her love to Applejack. So was a kiss truly far over the top? Could she bring herself to do it? Maybe a simple confession of feelings would suffice. She had never known what true love had felt like. So declaring such would be considered a lie? No. Feelings were good enough. Even if it took Applejack half an hour to say it, it didn't matter. It wasn't like the griffins were attacking Ponyville now. However, she was still worried about Brayburn and her family in Appaloosa. Applejack and Fluttershy arrived at the field underneath Rainbow's cloud home.
The yellow Pegasus immediately flew up to the cloud, knocked on the front door hastily. Nothing. She flew around the home, calling her friend's name and stopping abruptly when she peered in the window. "What is it, Sugar Cube?" AJ called up to Fluttershy. She heard the Pegasus mutter something under her breath, even from the ground. "Fluttershy! She's gone!" Wait. What do you mean? What do you mean she's gone? Her house is empty. There's nothing in there." Applejack felt the clamp tighten harder. Gone. Empty. What in the hay? Her house was empty? So that meant Rainbow Dash had left. She'd moved away. But where? Why? Fluttershy descended to the ground, landing clumsily in front of Applejack, whom fell to her haunches. Spitfire could have truly accepted Rainbow Dash into the Wonderbolts. Maybe she had just relocated. But why wouldn't she tell any pony? Dash had been feeling better. Applejack had been told that she was. This may have explained why no pony had seen her in the last week, but it didn't explain why she would just get up and leave her home. Didn't Dash think her best friends would like to know about this? Moving away from her home was a huge step, and she wasn't sharing a word of it with any pony. Applejack could understand why Rainbow wouldn't want to speak to her specifically, but every pony else? None of this made sense, and suddenly her mind was more distraught than before. "What does this mean?" asked Fluttershy weakly. "Why would she leave?" The orange earth pony started, her voice little more than a whisper. "I don't know. Dash needs to know what's going on, and I need to see her." "Well, what do we do?" asked Fluttershy again. Applejack was lost for words. She remembered the two Pegasi flying over her with boxes. Rainbow's boxes. They had been flying towards the mountains, not in any general direction. Where was Rainbow Dash going? Canterlot? Or somewhere secluded in the mountains? She didn't know what to do. Applejack could hop a train to Canterlot and search for her friend, but Appaloosa was in trouble. Right now she had to think objectively. The orange mare had to go meet up with Twilight and Rarity and speak with the mayor. Applejack could find Rainbow Dash later. "Come on, we don't have much time. Let's go to town hall and meet the girls. I need to know what happened in Appaloosa. We'll go find Rainbow later," she explained. "But we need her help. We need her with us," Fluttershy interjected. "If we need to use the elements of harmony." "Those griffins aren't anywhere near Ponyville. They're a 2-day trail ride away. Let's go!" Applejack had persuaded Fluttershy to keep her mouth shut for the time being until they reached the clock tower in the center of Ponyville. Twilight nor Rarity were anywhere to be seen, so they must have been inside. Pinkie Pie was visible in the sky to the right, her hoof above her eyes, looking out across the land. Moments later, they were walking into the mayor's office to find Twilight and Rarity standing in front of a large, ornate desk. Behind it in a large chair was the mayor, looking calm as always, with her hooves together upon her desk's surface. "Where's Rainbow Dash?" asked Rarity. "Couldn't find her," Applejack replied quickly, technically not lying. "You were only gone for... We couldn't find her," she repeated heatedly. Rarity looked taken aback. "We'll find her later. Right now, I need to know if my family's gonna be all right." "Well, come along, girls. Let's get started," said the mayor, gesturing for them to come forward. "I received a letter from the princess. She's instructed us to meet and discuss our defenses in case of an attack. Now, ideally, we would have all 6 of you here, but under the circumstances, we will have to make do. You all have proven yourselves to be quite formidable in the eyes of danger countless times before. You are the bearers of the elements of harmony for a reason. Now, your assistance may be required again. The demands of the griffins have not currently been met, and they haven't reacted very well. What are their demands? What do they want? Asked Twilight. Those details have yet to reach me nor the princess as of yet, said the mayor, shrugging. But until then, we will take no chances. For all we know, the whole flock of griffins outside our border right now. For all we know, there's a whole flock of griffins outside our borders right now. We are not going to the public with this. Ponies are generally fearful of their kind, and not without reason. Do you think this is because of the War of the Skies? Asked Twilight, clearly still desperate for answers. Miss Sparkle, please, said the mayor urgently. I understand you're curious, but we simply don't have time for speculation. Now, I understand from your work during the past winter wrap-up, you are considerably adept in terms of strategy and organization. Twilight Sparkle, you are now Ponyville's lead battle strategist. Twilight simply beamed, standing proud. The mayor turned to Rarity. Miss Rarity, being our town's finest fashionista, you will fit our soldiers with any armor needed our barracks may have. You will be granted any assistance you may need from our unicorns. Is that something you can do? Oh, of course, said Rarity, although half-heartedly. It was obvious she disdained being in such a dirty, rough-and-tumble environment. Then the mayor turned to Fluttershy, pausing before saying, Fluttershy, I need you to migrate the creatures of Ponyville to a safe location until this is all over. Do you understand? Oh, yes, Mayor, she squeaked. Finally, Mayor turned to Applejack, a puzzled look on her face. Now, Applejack, I must admit I'm not sure where to put you. Y'all can put me on the front lines, she said, to every pony's surprise. If I'm going to be anywhere, I'm going to be a-fighting. Are you sure, Applejack? Are you sure, Applejack? Griffins are dangerous beings, she said, reflecting the look of worry upon her friends' faces. If I can herd a coral herd of buffalo, I can pluck them griffins straight out of the air. Just give me a rope, and I can handle it, said Applejack, determination in her eyes. Mayor took a few seconds to chew on this. Then she nodded, moving right along. So be it. Now I would like to keep Pinkie Pie exactly where she is. She has a keen sense that can help us detect oncoming foe. As for Rainbow Dash, I need to speak with her about her position. Now, are you two sure that you have no idea where she is? The mayor asked Applejack and Fluttershy. The farm pony lowered her head, beaten. She couldn't keep the secret any more. There was no point. She moved, Applejack said softly, and everything stopped. Every pony in the room shared a look of pure shock. What? Yelled 3 different voices. Applejack closed her eyes, unable to take the truth. However, she bit her lip and explained what she and Fluttershy had found at Rainbow's house. No pony could believe it, berating her with questions that she couldn't answer. Now, quiet! Mayor cried, silencing the room. Now, Applejack, I have no idea what would drive Rainbow Dash to suddenly leave her home, but she absolutely needs to be here. Her immediate weather abilities are simply unmatched, and may be a necessity in protecting Ponyville. Not to mention if the elements are required, they will not work unless she is present. Applejack didn't answer. She didn't look any of them in the eye. She knew the mayor's words were the truth, but how could she even start to find her? I'll go, said Fluttershy suddenly. Now all eyes were on the yellow Pegasus. Normally the attention would have caused her to flinch or cower in some sort of way. But this time she wore a look of pure determination, as if she were about to take on the world. I'll take care of the animals immediately, and then I'll fly off to find Rainbow Dash. If any pony has an idea where she might be, it's me. It may take a day or two to migrate the animals, but I can do it. But Fluttershy, what if you run into one of those terrifying griffins? Asked Rarity. What if I let that scare me and we never see Rainbow Dash again? Fluttershy replied promptly. The response was so brave, so bold, and it was coming from Fluttershy. Her sudden bravery was inspiring, and it brought a sense of pride between the four friends. So be it, announced the mayor of Ponyville. You all have your objectives. I expect you to report when your respective stations are prepared. Twilight Sparkle, retire to your home, close the library, and start planning. Rarity, tell Pinkie Pie the details of what we have just discussed, and report to your boutique and start your designing for our warriors. You will be brought steel to start creating for unicorns, Pegasi, and earth ponies alike. Applejack, report to your farm and ready yourself for battle, whatever that may entail. Fluttershy, herd the creatures of Ponyville off to a safe location in the Everfree Forest and start your search for Rainbow Dash. Once you find her, bring her to me. Do you all understand? Every pony nodded. Good. Now let us prepare. You are all dismissed. This ends Chapter 6.